رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم أجر الحق على قلوبنا وألسنتنا وارزقنا الإخلاص كل قول وعمل يا أرحم الراحمين. Continue inshallah from the verses of yesterday. If you recall, if you're here, we finished at verse 118 where we talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّخِذُوا بِطَانَةً مِّن دُونِكُم. We explained this a little bit, so I'm just going to review quickly because it's related to the rest of the verses that we'll be talking about. We said the word bitana means this inner garment, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling those who believe that you should not be taken. The inner garment is something that's very close to your body. That's the closest clothing to your physical body. And it's a word used to also indicate someone who is a very close friend, a very close associate, someone who you share your secrets with and so forth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling those who believe that you should not be taken people from outside your deen as these very close associates. And this word min dunikum, as the Mufassirin put it, is one of two things. Either it's indicating or referring to al-munafiqeen, the hypocrites, or it can be referring to the people of the book. Especially that we know that the people of Medina, like the Sahaba, when they're living in Medina, now there are a lot of people of the book, the Jews that lived in Medina before them. And a lot of them, especially on the Ansar side, people of Medina themselves, they had a lot of working relationship. They have actually sometimes tahalufat, they had some agreements of protection and trade and so forth between them and the people of the book. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you should not be taking them as such. And Allah gave them a reasoning why, and gave them indication of what this type of people that you should not be associating yourself with to this closeness. For as they spare no effort to cause mischief for you. They're looking forward to your hardships. They want you to have these hardships and so forth. And this is where the verses were. So that's what we stopped yesterday. The verses today continue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in verse 119, ها أنتم أولئك تحبونهم ولا يحبونكم. What can be translated, it says, ها أنتم أولئك تحبونهم ولا يحبونكم وتؤمنون بالكتاب كله وإذا لقوكم قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا عضوا عليكم الأنامل من الغيظ قل موتوا بغيظكم إن الله عليم بذات الصدور. Here you are, or look, you are the ones who love them and they do not love you. You believe in the whole book or all the books. And on the other hand, when they meet you, they say we believe. But when they are alone, they bite their fingers or fingertips out of rage against you. Say, may you perish in your rage. Surely Allah is all aware of what lies in the hearts. Let's take this step by step or piece by piece. We start with ها أنتم أولئك تحبونهم ولا يحبونكم. We said the first verse that we just talked about yesterday and just gave a quick summary of. Allah says, don't associate with yourselves with them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this, they could say, the Mufassirin have different interpretations of this. This method, this usloob, in the Arabic language, does it mean here, said you, O believers, you actually love them. These people are talking about the bitana, the close associates that you have. You love them, but they love you not. So it can be looked at as two ways. One, Imam al-Tabari and others, they say that this is taqriya. Taqriya is kind of reprimand. He said, look what you're doing. Why do you love them while they do not love you? So it's more of a reprimand from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the believers. Imam Tahir ibn Ashur, he said, though this is not a reprimand in that sense. This usloob, this way of saying, is actually called ta'jib or ta'ajjub. It's kind of an amazement, an astonishment. Like when you see something like this happens, you say, subhanallah, you love them, but they don't love you. Like this is something that's worth wondering about, amazement about. You're astonished with the fact. So both of them, this is the Arabic language actually, supports that. Imam Tahir ibn Ashur, the one who has this book, Tahrir al-Tanwir, actually makes a strong case that this usloob, this way in the Quran comes in the form of astonishments only. So it's not a reprimand. It's an astonishment to give the mu'mineen a wake-up call. Okay, so that's the first thing about this verse. The second thing is, what does this mean, tuhibbunahum? How do you love them? If we talk about the two interpretations that we get from the Mufassirin, they said it can be, one, the hypocrites. The hypocrites, the fact of the matter is, if the Muslimin knew that they were hypocrites, it would be like a surprise. A lot of times the hypocrites, why they are dangerous, is because they are people that, like outwardly, they are Muslimin. They are believers. Inwardly, they have this hate and disbelief. So given the fact that they outwardly are Muslimin, it makes sense that mu'mineen would love them. They are like Muslims. So in their heart, the believers think that they are believers as well, therefore they love them. So that's an easy one. On the other side, we said about these associates that we talked about in the first verse, can be Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the book. And then it of itself as well is another indication. People of the book, as a matter of fact, we all know that throughout the Quran of Mecca, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually refers to the people of the book as the people of the book, meaning that they put them in different status. Allah says they are people that received revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they have prophets. So the believers always had this association with them. They always felt this closeness to them because they said they're just like us. Meaning what? That they have received revelation. They believe in a God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've received prophets. And they actually had very high hopes of them. Even Rasulullah had high hopes. He said that the first people that should believe in him are the people of the book. They know that there is a prophecy. They know that there is a prophet coming. It should be an easy belief. So, by nature, the people of, like the mu'mineen, the believers, had this love towards the people of the book. Okay. The third interpretation, and I saw that Sheikh Sha'rawi is a more modern mufassir, rahimahullah, he died like recently, like 10, 12 years ago, I got 20 years now. It's everything more than 20 years now. But 20 years ago, rahimahullah, or more, Sheikh Sha'rawi, he was talking about something beautiful. He says what? He says this is actually something about the Muslimin, generally speaking. Muslims, believers, love for others what they love for themselves. As a matter of fact, and I remember this, Imam Nawawi, and there's a hadith, a very famous hadith that says, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you would be true believers unless they love or like for their brothers what they like for themselves. When they interpret this hadith, they said this word brothers does not mean just the Muslim brotherhood. Like your brothers and Muslims in Islam, brothers and sisters in Islam. It says this whole humanity. Because we as Muslims would love for those who don't disbelieve, who disbelieve in Allah, they don't have belief, we love for them to believe. There is nothing more valuable for us than disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if Rasulullah says, none of you would have complete iman, would attain complete iman, unless they love for others, for their brothers, what they love for themselves, the first and foremost thing that we love for others is for them to be guided. That's whole humanity. That's whole humanity. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what does He say? He says, فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ, right? It says, you, O Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you're almost hurting yourself. You're going to hurt yourself because of your concern for those disbelievers, because you want them to believe. You do everything in your power to try to guide them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who guides. But you go out of your way to do the da'wah and so forth. To the extent that He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam feels bad for them. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is about to hurt himself out of this feeling that I wish to become mu'mineen. These are the disbelievers. All of these are indicators. This is what our deen teaches us. Our deen teaches us, even those that we differ with, to the extent of they are complete disbelievers, we still love for them to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We still love for them to come to the truth and the path of truth. And that can be also understood from this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why when Tahir ibn Ashur, he says this is an amazement, like a form of, like, I'm amazed at what's happening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us this is a form of amazement. But at the same time, it's also a wake-up call. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adds to it and says what? وَلَا يُحِبُّونَكُمْ. That you share this love towards them, but they don't reciprocate. And that's in itself is a form of, you should be amazed, amusement. Like this is, when you see someone is loving someone and there's no reciprocation, that should be a form of like, why? Wonder at least. وَلَا يُحِبُّونَكُمْ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْكِتَابِ كُلِّهِ. And you, O believers, you believe, as I said, the word here is al-kitab, is like the book. بَالْكِتَابِ كُلِّهِ, meaning that, oh, you believers, you believe in all other books, not just the Quran, but you believe in all revelations, all books. But they, on the other hand, do not. Because if it's the people of the book, we said what? They stopped at their book. They don't believe that what you have is the truth. They believe it's just what came to us and that's it. And these are other verses talk about this as well. Whereas you believers believe not only in your book, but all other books that came to you. And they do not. So that's another way. It's like, again, you should be careful. That's why you should not be taking them as, the first verse you said, close associates. وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْكِتَابِ كُلِّهِ وَإِذَا لَقُوكُمْ قَالُوا آمَنَّا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is continuing to tell us, okay, kind of the contrast as I call it. One, you love them, they don't love you. Two, you believe in the books, right? And they do not. And number three is, وَإِذَا لَقُوكُمْ قَالُوا آمَنَّا. But what they do as well on top of this to kind of hide, and that's why it's more of an indication towards the hypocrites in that case, right? It says, وَإِذَا لَقُوكُمْ قَالُوا آمَنَّا. If they meet you, what they would say, oh, we believe. They wanted to weigh out. They understand that there's like, okay, the mu'mineen are trying, or the Muslimin are trying to invite them to Islam. At some point, especially in the Sayyid al-Medina, they understood that this is not going to be an easy path for us to go and destroy Islam, or try to stop this from growing. So they chose, the hypocrites chose to join. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا لَقُوكُمْ قَالُوا آمَنَّا. If they meet you, they would say, oh, believe. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا. But if they are in secret by themselves, عَضُّوا عَلَيْكُمُ الْأَنَامِلَ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ. It's a beautiful expression. It says, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is drawing a picture for us. It said, عَضُّوا عَلَيْكُمُ الْأَنَامِلَ. عَضُّ is to bite. They say they are biting their fingertips. You see that? That's what it means. It says, biting their fingertips out of ghayz, out of this hatred, out of this like animosity, envy. That's what they're doing. So in public, they're trying to be like all nice with you and so forth. But in private, they can't even hold it together. And that's also an expression, the Mufassirin say something beautiful. It says, generally speaking, if you have this hatred, like a lot of us might have some animosity, sometimes they may have hasad or something like that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all from this. But we're saying this is sometimes it's a feeling that comes to one. They don't act upon it directly. You don't see people, generally speaking, if they have this envy, they're sitting down biting on their nails. But you've seen that before when someone, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all and protect all our beloved ones. If someone loses a beloved one, you would see that naturally, what do? They start crying maybe. Some people go above that, start screaming, right? They can't hold themselves. It's a natural thing. When you have this level of envy, even sometimes, I don't know if you've seen that people, again, sometimes when people are like they do that, something like, it's either something that is naturally occurring or something that we all agreed upon. What does that mean, by the way? When I do that, do you know what does it mean? No? You don't know what does that mean? What is it? It can be, okay. Hasra as well, I said that, but they have multiple reasons. But it's whatever, this is a good point though. It's, by the way, these signs are things that mutawada alayha, like what we agree on in cultures. Because different cultures might have different meanings, right? You wash your hand off of it, right? Okay. You know that this, when I do this, what does it mean? Agree. You know some cultures that means no. Complete opposite. Right? So you need to know where you are, right? Okay, are you coming to my house? Might be this or that, you don't know, right? So you have to understand what it means. So that's the point here, is when we say the expressions, عَضُّ عَلَيْكُمْ الْأَنَامِلِ, it's an expression that means what? It means that they have so much envy in their heart to the extent they can't even control themselves. Because when you bite on your fingertips, it hurts. But their envy in their heart causes them to do that. Even if they feel this hurt, it's still more kind of easing for them than the envy they have in their heart. You see that? This is how deep-rooted this envy is. And that's why Allah says, like, your love for them is something that to be amazed about. Because these people, and this is also like, they have multiple, not narrations, but different like words of wisdom. They talk is like, there's a lot of stuff that can be cured. But hasad and envy is not one of them. Because the person who's envious against you, the more you become better for them, the more become envious. The better treatment you show them, the more they become worse. Because it's envy. It's not something that is like you've done something wrong for them. It's envy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all from this. It's a terrible feeling if you live with envy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. Clear our hearts from envy. Clear our hearts from hatred to others. Fill our hearts with the love of others and the good love for good of others, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. So Allah's telling us about them, and that's why I said we should not be loving them. Even we said why the Muslimin or the Mu'mineen love them, Allah's telling them you shouldn't. Right? Giving them the reasons why they shouldn't. عَضُّ عَلَيْكُمُ الْأَنَامِلَ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ قُلْ مُوتُوا بِغَيْظِكُمْ. قُلْ مُوتُوا بِغَيْظِكُمْ, it shouldn't read it, it says, oh say, die with your envy. Okay? قُلْ مُوتُوا بِغَيْظِكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. What does that mean, die with your envy? Okay. It can be actually looked at, and the Mufassirin also they said, it can be looked at as this literal meaning. As if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, قُلْ, that means it's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says, go make dua on them. Say, okay, you know what, with your envy, just die with this envy. It can be looked at this literal meaning. That's one meaning. The second one is, قُلْ مُوتُوا بِغَيْظِكُمْ. Do they control their own death? If I say you die, you control your own death? You do not. But I can tell you, it's like, but what it's saying is, it's like you know you can't control your own death. But what it's saying is like, you're going to live this whole life with this envy until you die. It's a bad indication for them. It said you continue on having this envy, what happens is, you're not going to go away. It's going to continue on with you until you die. That's a very bad feeling as well. I'm telling you this, I'm giving you the news, the bad news, that this bad feeling that you have, it's not going to go away. The flip of this as well is what? Is because they're going to live their entire lives with this envy. What is the cause of envy for them? What makes them envious? What makes them envious is the status of the mu'mineen. They're believers. MashaAllah, they're all together. They're improving, they're increasing. People are becoming more mu'mineen. People are getting more strength. That's in time of Prophet ﷺ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, and you can look at this ishara, like it's an indication for the mu'mineen as a glad tidings. It says what? It says the cause of envy is not going to go away. It's going to continue. To the extent that they're going to live their whole entire lives having this envy. Telling the mu'mineen is what? Inshallah, you're going to improve. You're going to get better. It's going to get better from there. The cause of their envy is going to continue on. قُلْ مُوتُوا بِغَيْظِكُمْ. Die with this envy of yours. إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in the hearts. The all-knowing. Because keep in mind as well, when you talk about munafiqeen, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا خَلَوْا. They are, this action, this envy, might not be obvious. As a matter of fact, it shouldn't be. It's like they do it in their private times. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also giving them, the people, subhanAllah, I always look at this and I'm amazed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives so many signs for these people. At that point, imagine the time of revelation, Allah did not mention them by name. He gave something that they do in private. So others should not see them. But Allah is telling them what it's in their hearts. If someone truly have this light of guidance, they will say, oh, how this Muhammad knows that? We know But they should be thinking. They say, how did this guy know that I'm that envious at home or in private? It should make them think that he couldn't know, but him knowing, that should be a sign of guidance, revelation. But they don't heed. They should take the sign. It's amazing. When Allah's telling them exactly how they feel, they should be like, whoa, how did that happen? At least make them think, but they don't. They continue on doing that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again protect us. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for each one of us, gives us a lot of signs in our lives. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see the signs and act upon it, inshaAllah. Because sometimes Allah gives you so many signs, you and I, gives you so many signs. But it's a matter of, do we act upon it or not? The other verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن تَمْسَسْكُمْ حَسَنَةٌ تَسُؤْهُمْ. Continuing on the same thing. It says, when a hasana befalls you, it hurts them. Because they have this envy. Right? وَإِن تُصِبْكُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ يَفْرَحُوا بِهَا. But when a calamity befalls you, they're actually now happy and satisfied. Allah's telling them everything about these people, right? Protecting the mu'mineen, but also a wake-up call for those who disbelieve. Allah knows all of this. In the Arabic, I want to give you like one indication here. It's a beautiful thing. First of all, they said, إِن تَمْسَسْكُمْ حَسَنَةٌ تَسُؤْهُمْ. We said the word hasana and the word sayyi'ah, not in the quote-unquote shar'i legal meaning, not hasana and sayyi'ah meaning good deed and bad deed. But hasana is anything that is good, that is worth being happy about, that's worth celebrating. And the opposite is sayyi'ah, something that is bad, that's something that's not worth celebrating, and so forth. Okay? But the words that are used, in tamsaskum, al-mas is kind of a touch. If I say mas, it's just a touch. It says, in tamsaskum hasana. Even if something good just not befalls you in that sense, just touches you even. They are so envious. They are so mad about it. Just a touch of good. Not like the good encompasses you. No, just a touch of good. تسؤهم. It bothers them. وَإِن تُصِبْكُمْ. Isaba is to hit their target, basically is to وَإِن تُصِبْكُمْ سَيِّئَةٍ. And if a calamity really befalls you, encompasses you, falls, يَفْرَحُ. They are so happy now. This is the contrast here. The word, by the way, mas, is used in the Quran to indicate good and bad. So it's not like something that is associated only with good or bad. But this is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's so precise. It says, even the slightest good bothers them. And when you, even this, I don't know if you've seen it, but if someone has a kind of like a grudge towards someone else, and they feel that this person is hit with a huge calamity, sometimes they step back. They say, SubhanAllah, it's not the right time to hold this grudge. You know, this person spends so much stuff. Actually, you know what? I forgive them, right? Take back. You feel that you feel it's like, SubhanAllah, it's not even the right time to be have this grudge against them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that these people, when the calamity befalls the mu'mineen, it encompasses them, they don't reheed as well. They don't go back. Sound like if they don't heed, they don't befall. It's not like they retreat, like they say back, now it's a wake-up call. No, they continue on. That tells you again, a sign of how much hate and envy they have in their hearts. وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا لَا يَضُرُّكُمْ كَيْدُهُمْ شَيْئًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا يَعْمَلُونَ مُحِيطًا. We'll finish that inshallah. It says, what's the remedy for this hate that they have towards you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا. And if you have the sabr, this patience, and this taqwa, لَا يَضُرُّكُمْ كَيْدُهُمْ شَيْئًا. All of their plotting, all of their plans would not harm you regardless. The Mufassirin also differed on this one. It says, what does it mean, تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا? The English translation has said that you have patience and you have taqwa, right? You have this heed and so on. Actually, it has two meanings, and both meanings are needed, inshallah, and both meanings have beauty to it. One, meaning in tasbiru, they have sabr, which is the great trait that we all, inshallah, should have, right? وَتَتَّقْوَ, and you have the taqwa towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning that if you shift all of your actions towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And you have this niyyah that you're just working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless, because of your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing can befall you that would hurt you. قُلْ لَنْ يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. At the end of the day, nothing befalls us unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for us. So regardless of what they do, it doesn't matter. Right? That's one of the interpretations. The other interpretation is, I said, actually, إِن تَصْبِرُوا عَلَيْهِمْ وَتَتَّقُونَ. Meaning what? That if you have just a little patience, their makr, their plotting would not support, like harm you. Meaning what? Like, just stay with them, right? And this what happens is when the enemies, subhanAllah, the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes them sooner or later. Just have a little patience with them. Don't like basically overthink it. Don't overreact. وَتَتَّقُوا min التقاء, that means al-hadar, that means to be, but be careful, be vigilant with them. Meaning that you avoid them. So Allah is telling us what also? Be vigilant. People as such, with that kind of characteristics and hatred towards you, because we said the mu'mineen, believers just have this genuine love for everyone. Allah is telling us just, but be careful. Even when you still have these beautiful hearts, like the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you need to still be careful. Because don't just be naive. Muslimin, mu'mineen are not naive people. We're still good-hearted, inshaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all good-hearted. We have this beautiful heart, this shiny heart, as my kids say, shiny heart. But we're not naive. That's what Allah is telling them. But attaqu, that don't be naive with them. لا يضركم كيدهم شيئا. We said that their plotting and their plans would not harm you in any way, shape, or form. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا يَعْمَلُونَ مُحِيطٌ. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not using the word alim here, knowing, all-knowing. We said the first one, alim. It's a muhit. Muhit is encompassing. Nothing goes out of His knowledge. Everything is contained. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything around it and encompasses everything. So regardless of what they do, that's also a glad tidings. Said, don't fret. Know that Allah is with you, and Allah is all-encompassing to everything that they do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who hear these words and heed from it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this beautiful, shiny heart that loves the khair, loves the goodness for everyone around us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us beacons of love to others, beacons of guidance to others. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove any envy or hatred from our hearts towards any of our fellow brothers and sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us victory in this life and victory in the hereafter. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who follow in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this life and in the hereafter, and that we become amongst His companions in Al-Jannah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله.